Hello, I'm David Stichon, and I'm speaking to you about the problem of human scale and representative government in the United States. When you have too many people being represented by too few, there's not accurate representation of that population. At the national level in the United States, there are two legislative bodies that were crafted to be representative, but by their nature and their scale, they have altered beyond recognition. Let's look at the House of Representatives. After the first elections, there were 30,000 people represented by each member of Congress. That was the James Madison design. In 1913, they capped the number of representatives at 435, merely because of the number of seats available in that chamber of the Capitol. The Reapportionment Act of 1929 made this official. Currently, there are 5 states which have only 1 representative each. However, the 2019 average is 1 representative for every 758,000 Americans. One person cannot truly represent their district with that many Americans per member of Congress. At that ratio or scale, each representative cannot know their constituents, their needs, or their desires. There are a few examples of smaller scale representative government in Western civilization. For a short period, there were a few small and medium-sized countries that enjoyed representative government without a monarchy in early modern Europe. These included Switzerland, the Netherlands, the Frisian states, and a few smaller city-states. The small Republic of East Frisia, centered around the port city of Emden, elected Johann Althusius as their syndic or municipal leader in 1604. A well-known political and theological philosopher, Althusius was one of the most eloquent thinkers to speak about federalism, the right size of government, and appropriate representation. Detailed in his book Politico, Althusius designed a state based on compound political associations, established by the citizens on the basis of consent, rather than one imposed by a ruler or an elite. This grand design for a state is developed out of a series of building blocks or self-governing cells, with the smallest groups to be the Universal Commonwealth, each of which is internally organized and linked to the others by some form of consensual relationship. An enthusiastic admirer of Althusius was Thomas Jefferson. The principal drafter of the Declaration of Independence was one of the chief architects of state-centered federalism. Jefferson believed that the republic could get too large and that it perhaps should become a confederacy or a federation composed of groups of states. These groups of states might be along the Atlantic coast, while others would be on the Pacific coast. These would become regional republics within the continent, and they could then better represent the actual population. This is similar to Althusius' idea of federation of smaller dominions within a republic to achieve better representation. Jefferson also believed that groups of states could secede to form divisions within separate republics, or a confederacy much like the Swiss Republic. Our third president was willing to double the size of our landmass, and then would see the new states formed become associated republics. Another issue of representative scale is that of the states themselves. We still have 2 senators per state regardless of population. The Senate was designed to represent the states. The Constitution created the Senate as part of our federal system, so that the states would remain sovereign and have equal representation in the government in Washington. In fact, that senior body represented the sovereign states and not a select number of residents. This balance between the large and small states ended on April 8, 1913, when the 17th Amendment to the United States Constitution began the direct election of U.S. senators by the citizens of each state. Instead of representing the states and receiving their appointments by individual legislatures, the members of the Senate are instead selected as at-large members from each state. They don't represent a northern half or a southern half. They are just 2 at-large representatives for the entire state. The diminishing of states' rights and the representation of the unique residents of each state, and perhaps groups of states, was initiated by Abraham Lincoln during the Civil War and completed by the 17th Amendment in 1913. Restoration of the appointment of senators by state legislatures would restore some of the scale of representation of the country by empowering the states in Washington and prevent the Senate from being a limited, non-representative body. I'm David Stichon, and this has been a presentation of the development of Western freedoms.